Hi, welcome back.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Today we are talking about Black History Month. We hope that you will enjoy this episode, especially those who actually celebrate. It's just, to talk about our heritage and where we come from and our history of being a Black person in America. Also, to know Black history is celebrated in Ireland, the UK, Canada, as well as Jamaica. It's something I was talking to my boyfriend about. I asked him, in Ghana, do you guys celebrate Black history? He was like, no. And then I thought about it. Hey, that's a country where mostly everybody is Black. So it makes sense. They just celebrate regular history, whereas we're in a majority white countries. And with our past and slavery, civil rights, all of it is very important to highlight. It does suck that we just get 1 month, but I do say, as Black people and those who are, I guess, what we say, friends of allies to the Black race and understand the difficulties we've had in the past, who celebrate and remember it with us. It is important that we know our history so it will not repeat.
Yeah, and another thing you have to think about too is a lot of us really don't know our origin. We really don't know if our family was already here, if our family was brought here with slavery. And so it's kind of hard to really know what your culture is other than what we created here in America as a culture, as a collective. But there could be, like you said, Jamaican, Ghanaian, like there's so many places where the black race is represented and they do know their roots and they know their family. And so we in America really don't often know where we originated from. And so it's good that in 1926, it was initiated for us to begin celebrating, like Brandy said, our history. Um, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, I
Listener?
think,
Yeah.
yeah, initiated the celebration of Black history in February. And one of the reasons, like you said, is just recognizing the contributions of Black Americans that is often omitted from history books. Every now and then, there's a story or two, but for the most part, we don't know a lot of the wonderful things that Black people created or contributed in America. And so having this time to reflect and discuss, the different contributions from science to all of the different areas and fields where you think about the arts, um, literature, just all the different fields that Black Americans have had some strong contributions. And our youth, I think, don't know a lot of the struggles. They don't understand what happened in civil rights, only to the extent of what is in the textbooks. And so having a month where we celebrate and we recognize and we reflect, I feel like it's a good thing. And I hope that everybody take a part in understanding Black history and the struggles and the move forward, and then some of the struggles that still might exist today. And like you said, so there can be allyship and we can think about things that have happened and not repeat them.
Well, when you think about it, even though there are people with Native American heritage, then they would be having family that's coming here. Most of us probably came from the Atlantic slave trade in the reality. And a lot of that was people coming from West Africa. And also, even though Jamaica, they have their own culture, the islands, and even in Brazil, they have their own culture, they also actually had majority of the slaves go to their areas. So they created a whole new culture and a whole new ethnicity and became, their people. So they have a background that's similar to us, but it's just interesting how they were able to create their culture. And some of the things that are in West Africa got to the Caribbean. And especially like with the foods, and then they created their own languages. So I always reflect on that too to see how in America it's a little bit different. And I do think it is because we were the minority. Who's to say we couldn't have created our own language or it maybe be a variant of African language, but in reality we had to speak English. And I also want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This is not a bash white people session.
Absolutely not.
I think sometimes people think celebrating Black history is making you anti-white, anti-Latino, anti-Asian. In reality, I feel like everybody should be able to celebrate who they are, where they come from, what race they are. If you want to celebrate being white, go ahead. Like, honestly, my reflection of it is we talk about white history 90% of the time in history class. Most of the people we learn about are white. So I do think it's important to highlight those minorities, which are Black people. I also celebrate when it's Asian American Heritage Month. I also celebrate when it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So it's not like I'm only celebrating my culture and my people. I do appreciate celebrating other people's culture. And I'm definitely a big historian. I like history. I used to watch the History Channel with my dad. He's also big on history too, so that's one person, like, who if you wanna learn some quick facts, you can talk to him because he's history buff. But the reality of it is, like, us celebrating Black history is not anti other races.
Right.
I just want people to realize, okay, maybe I'm into Black history like that. Maybe I'm not gonna tune into this episode. That's okay too, because we don't want you coming into the comments being weird about us talking about Black history. I put that
If right, if you wanna sit this one out, we ain't mad at you.
right.
Um,
Exactly.
but there's one more thing that I wanna add, correcting historical omissions. Because sometimes, like you said, you're a history person. Sometimes there's so many things omitted from the history books. And I don't know if it's just people just don't know or if it's just not something that was popular to put in a textbook, but there are so many stories, just so many stories where Black Americans have contributed different things in America, helped build certain things, and there's a lot of omission. And so using this time to, make sure that those stories that are historically minimized and ignored are told, because they're like Brandy said, if any race wants to celebrate their history, that's not a problem. 'Cause 2 things can always be true at once. Like,
Right.
we could read American history and appreciate American history, but we can also celebrate Black history and appreciate Black history. I think, this one thing or the other, either you this or you that, I think that thought process can keep people from being able to celebrate Native Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic, and Asians, and, you know, you can celebrate them all and be okay with the history. It happened. It's real. The contributions are the contributions, and so it's good for people to know about them, especially our youth. And plus, it tells them, "Hey, I can do that too." Just knowing the different contributions of people who look like them. It's important. Representation matters, and us saying that representation matters for Black Americans. That is not us saying that it doesn't matter for Asians or Jewish or whatever. We're just saying it matters for Black Americans, and we're proud of Black History Month, and we hope that stories continue to be told and shared. Um, Brandy's been sharing from our Listen and We Judge page on Facebook some of the contributions of Black Americans, authors in literature, different things in science. So it's just good that the stories are being told and for educational purposes too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they talk a lot of people know Harriet Tubman, a lot of people know the story of Martin Luther King Jr., some people know Malcolm X, but some people don't know the Angela Davises and, the different people like Sarah Breedlove, who was actually Madam C.J. Walker. All those different the story we watched recently about the girl who got the acreage.
Sarah's Oil.
Zero the that was really good too. I would want and to see that as a real life thing that happened, you can look it up. You can see that this little girl knew how valuable land was. That's also something my dad talks about a lot is how valuable land and property is because they're not making anymore. Like
That's right.
that's what the reality of it. People just buy and sell it, but it's really not necessarily created unless there's a volcanic eruption and then it erodes and then over time it becomes land. But I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon over our lifetime. And if you find a random island, more than likely it's probably already populated. Catch that T, Christopher Columbus. But at the end of the day, we need to know our history, and stories like that are very important. You probably can find people in your own, you know, lineage that had a situation where they got some land, they got their 40 acres and a mule, and then somebody tried to take it away from them. So it's really important that we talk about these things and not shy away from it. I know a lot of people, specifically Black Americans, say a lot of our history is basically suffrage and what's the word? Tragedy and not toxic
Trauma.
trauma. But there are so many good stories. There's so much that happened that was great. Of course, there's always gonna be bad things that happen in life. Everybody has some type of issue. You can't go through life having no issue at all. I don't know anybody who's lived a life and didn't have anything go wrong, or somebody in their life died, or somebody in their life maybe tried to take something from them. So everything doesn't necessarily have to be 12 years a slave or roots, but there are great stories that we do have that are like feel good. And in my opinion, I love the Josephine Baker story. That's something I used to watch a lot. And it wasn't me even saying like, oh, this is Black history. It's just I see someone that looks like me that was a, famous singer and she performed and she got to go to France. And I watched that story as a small girl. I also watched Anne Frank too. I don't know why I was watching all this stuff, but I was because I just like the story. I like the stories about people that actually lived. I do like fiction as well, but I really like stories about people that actually live. So that was one of my favorite ones growing up. And then when you think about it, even something that's like it's supposed to be a romance and love story, but something that I really love is Love Jones. And it shows like how fun Chicago was in the 90s, how black centric it was. They could just go to the speakeasies and the poetry slams and express themselves. And they made money from being writers and photographers reminiscent of like Harlem Renaissance. That's one of the areas I really like too. Langston Hughes was one of my favorite poets. Dreams is one of my favorite, poems. Like all those different things that are out there about black history are not always traumatic. A lot of times you can find the good in black history. A lot of times you can find the beautiful things that got us to the next step. And a lot of times we do need to know this because without knowing where we come from, we really won't know where we're going.
And I still do maintain that even I know you said that, the transatlantic slave trade is where, most of us came from, but we just don't know for sure. And then you go to like, when you go to Belize, it's amazing just to see, like, how many, people are Black people, even though they speak Spanish and you're like, "Could I have been here from here?" And then and then you go to Jamaica, you're like, "Could I have been here from here?" You know? And so, because you just see, a lot of Black culture there. But, if we came from the Atlantic slave trade, we just have no way of really knowing that. And so I do feel like
What
creating this.
they have DNA testing to see like how the percentages of like where people come from. So you can see like if you're from sub-Saharan, if West
And
Africa.
then it'd be like a percentage of here, there, and everywhere. So, again, like, when people came over as immigrants, it's like, okay, my family came from Ireland because we were leaving because of the potato crisis, or, my family came from and then you know, insert country. But we really can't say that. Like, we really don't know. And even with the, um, what is it called? Ancestry.com, and ID me type stuff. Then it'd be like you're a percentage of this and a percentage of that and a percentage of this. And you're like, okay, you know just about as much as you knew before you did it. So
Yeah.
I feel like to I guess honor contributions, but also to just shine some light on the culture, which we kind of had to create our own. And like you said, we don't have our own language. Um, so I do feel like it's an honor to be able to reflect back, celebrate, discuss, talk about. One thing that kind of bothers me is the whole conversation about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I don't know if Black History Month is the right month to talk about it, but I kind of feel like it is. Even though DEI is not just about Black Americans, it's also about women who have been marginalized over the years. It's about any minority race or whatever. And so, but I do feel like the conversation behind what goes in history books with the big push against diversity, equity, and inclusion, it feels like an effort to erase certain parts of history or not highlight parts of history. Um, and I think there's a very big misconception about what it means even in the first place. And so I think Black History Month is the perfect time to discuss, DEI is not just about us. It's about anybody who's been marginalized and excluded or just as qualified but may not get a look because of your hair, because you're wearing locks or because next week I'm gonna have in two-strand twists or, I feel like it's some of that. It's the women who are not seen as people who should be CEOs or um, VPs of this, that, and the third. Now there are more women in those types of roles, but I do feel like as we highlight the contributions of Black Americans, we just can't tangle that up and start feeling like we have to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion because it's causing racial divide. I think that's weird. And I think same thing for Black History Month. Like we can't erase it or not have it thinking that it causes racial divide because it doesn't. I feel like highlighting contributions of others, like you said, you could do it with any race. We chose to do it in February because of the work of Dr. Carter G. Woodson. And if you don't want to celebrate it, no skin off our backs, but if you do want to celebrate it with us and look at the contributions of African Americans and hear their stories, or Black Americans, however you say it, I think that allyship is needed because I think it can untangle conversations about DEI and what that really means versus us celebrating the contributions that we've made in America because we're not in the history books. And correcting some of the narratives. There's some narratives out there about Black Americans and how we are, what we are. You could be the angry, aggressive Black woman, the big Black man that scares everybody. But knowing that that's not who we are as a race and just knowing what we have contributed to America, I feel like it's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I also think it doesn't have to just stop at February. I think we as a people, and I'm specifically saying Black American, we can look at what we contribute to our own race. And I think maybe shopping more with Black owned businesses, not just in the month of February, would recirculate the dollar and put, us in a better financial situation, as well as, you know, other races too. It's good when we appreciate people's different cultures. I do, like you said, I want to pick back all that because it's never like, okay, we need to get rid of St. Patrick's Day because that is only celebrating Irish people. And it's never like, oh, let's not do Cinco de Mayo anymore because that is celebrating the 5th of May for a date in Mexican culture. It's always specifically like when it comes to Black History Month. And again, we're not the only race with our own Heritage Month, which I also think, like, again, is great. So I don't like the narratives either. It just gets weird. Even now on job, like you said with DEI, you say, it helps other minorities. It's also when it comes to people's sexuality, it's now on job applications. They ask you, are you straight? Are you bi? Are you, whole homosexual? Because That's a part of DEI as well. A lot of different, companies have ERG groups around your sexuality too as well, for people who wanna feel more comfortable being gay or bi or trans at work. That is a marginalized group as well. So it's not just DEI has now been like a code word, in my opinion, for Black when it comes to, oh, we're trying to hire more Black people or we're trying to help more Black people, even with affirmative action. It was specifically seen as just for Black people when it helped other races, those gender of women specifically as well, to have more inclusion in the workplace. And we always talk about at work how diverse teams make a better team. Basically, with more opinions and different outlooks and different walks of life, you get a better understanding of things. So why does it become weird when it's like, okay, well, let's get different people from different backgrounds and different cultures to come in and help and celebrate and talk about it? I don't understand because it's not necessarily always gonna be going well when you all think the same. If nobody has a different opinion, what are you gonna accomplish?
Yeah, because groupthink is scarier actually, because sometimes things happen when there's a lot of groupthink that could have been avoided, I should say, because nobody speaks out and says, "Hey, this might not be the right way to go." But if you get that group thing going where everybody just nod and agree with everything that's being said, and there's no diverse opinions, there's no look at how employees from all walks of life might feel about a certain initiative, and there's nobody to question it or say anything different. We just nod and smile. That's worse, in my opinion. So I agree with you. Having diverse teams from all walks of life. Sometimes you get great products from that type of discussion. And somebody who came into a group that might have started off in an impoverished situation and they went to school and they learned a lot and they kind of pulled themselves out of that. They may have a whole different perspective and could probably help think like those who might still be in a situation like that. So you're right. Um, Diverse teams is important because you can see things from different perspectives or hear things from different perspectives. And I always like hearing and seeing different perspectives. Now, some things are wild out there, and you can look at it from a moral or ethical standpoint and say, but if it's truly people coming together trying to think about what is best to do for others, I do think diverse perspectives are great.
Yeah, and how to solve problems too. Everybody has the same idea, you're not gonna accomplish anything.
That's right.
The problem's gonna still be there if y'all are all thinking the same way. You gotta have somebody that can go outside of the box and think differently. But
You said something though. I think back to affirmative action. I think you mentioned that. That's another term that's kind of tied to um, Black Americans. When in fact, it's not just about Black
right.
Americans. And I think during Black History Month, it might be a good time to let's talk about what diversity, equity, inclusion really mean. What does affirmative action really mean? Because everybody's like, we need to do away with affirmative action. We need to do away with affirmative action. But do people really know what it is? A lot of times, I think it's just a buzzword to say, let's not do it because certain parties or certain groups think it's a bad thing to do. But are people really educated on what it really means? Because affirmative act, they say this person was an affirmative action hire. What do you mean by that? Because if that person wasn't qualified, they shouldn't be hired no matter what race, or what background they have. But if that person is qualified to do the job, affirmative action just means giving everybody an equal look if they bring the right qualifications to the table. And I think there's a lot of confusion in America on that as well. So I feel like Black History Month is the perfect month to clear up some things and school people school people on it.
The reality is people have biases.
Yeah.
So if you look like me, you sound like me, and I think I'm good at my job, I'm gonna automatically go with the person that's like me. And that's not to say that might not be the best hire, but a lot of times if you are only judging somebody based on their proximity to how similar they are to you, then they might not do what you need them to do. If you are hiring somebody you are looking for something to fill a void, to go to the next level, or basically solve a problem, in my opinion. We have this extra seat that's unavailable. We have a team of people who can do X, Y. We don't have Z. So why would I hire another X or why would I hire another Y? I need to hire a Z so the team can be complete. And people don't really see it that way. They're like, well, this person is the most like me. They can be like me. They can do this like me. I'm going to hire another me. No, don't do that because are you even the right fit for what you need in that role? And the answer is probably no, because you would probably be doing the job if you were.
Absolutely. Well, I do feel like America is a very diverse place, and there are so many different cultures to celebrate, so much history. We're full of history because of people have um, immigrated from so many different places. Then we have people who were native to this land, and then we have, of course, slaves who were brought to America. And so there's so many diverse backgrounds, diverse cultures, and I feel like to hear the history and not just the struggle, like you said, the triumphs, not just tragedy, the triumphs. I enjoyed watching Sarah Zoll. That was triumph to me. Just seeing a little girl who just believed in the land that was given to her and just knew that there was oil on it and she fought for what was hers and it was such a triumph. And I didn't even know about that story before I saw the historical fiction. Um, about a month or two ago, and so I enjoy celebrating Black history. I enjoy reading different stories, and just knowing that there's so many different contributions. Another, movie, and I know we're not on listening to, but I love watching Hidden Figures. I've watched it a couple of times, in
Yeah,
fact,
yeah, that's
because
on
I
my list.
never knew, that those African American ladies had so much contribution when it came to NASA and launching, spaceship into space or whatever you call I think it's called a rocket or spaceship into
Yeah.
space, but, just knowing what great mathematicians they were. I love math, so Hidden Figures was a good one for me. So I just feel like our youth especially, and some of our, people my age and older need to know that, there's some good things in African American history or Black history, whichever you say, um, in America.
Right. And honestly, one of my favorite classes when I took in high school was a Black literature class. Shout out to Miss Stallcup. She actually taught that. And she was a white American woman. But she gave us some really good literature that we could read and we could reflect on. And a lot of the stories were a little bit sad, but it did show the history of things. Like I read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. That's why she was one of the people that I shared. That book really, I don't know if that's the first time. I think I knew a little bit about colorism, but that's the first time I really di reflected on it and dissected on what it is, what it could cause to your self-esteem, and how you could, basically lose yourself based on the biases that people have towards you for your skin color. And colorism is not just like, oh, white people don't like dark skinned people. Colorism is also within the black community. Colorism is in the Asian community. Colorism is in multiple different races and ethnicities. Like bleaching is a real thing. People trying to change their appearance to be more in proximity to whiteness is also a real thing because in certain places, whiteness is looked at as right and blackness is looked at as wrong. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. So reading that book really showed me, okay, I gotta never put in my mind just because I'm a dark-skinned woman, I'm less than. That will have you doing some things that you really should not do and feeling some way that you really should not feel. Unfortunately, the girl really had a hard life. People made it hard for her to love herself, including her own family. And it's a heavy read, but I think it's important for every dark-skinned woman to read that book. I just would say plug that in. And then we also read In Their Eyes Was Watching God by Zola Neale Hurston. That was really amazing, as well as the movie with Halle Berry in it. I That's one of my favorite movies and books to read as well. And Go Tell 'Em on the Mountain by James Baldwin was a good one as well.
Absolutely.
So I just want to plug that in for everybody, this Black history. If you are not afraid of a little tragedy and trauma and you understand a plot line that might be climatic, just go ahead and read those 3. I think those are important to read. Also, I wanna say one that's a little bit off the wall, Sister Soldier, The Coldest Winter Ever.
Yeah, I
I'm
read that.
very late to reading that, but it was a really good book, and it
That was
tells
tragic.
yeah, that was tragic, but it tells the story of a lotta young girls that grew up in basically so they were well off, but it was because of their dad being in the streets. It wasn't clean money, it wasn't good money, and a lot of the privileges they received were because of their looks and their mom being of a certain ethnicity and race, and she was holding it down. They got this, they got that. In reality, the hood rich and the fast money and the quick money can lead you to your demise. But I think it is important for a lot of young girls to read that as well, because it's you kind of see it with the rapper lifestyle, in my opinion. Not necessarily that they're all doing it, but a lot of them have been in trouble with the law for drugs and RICOs and basically killing their ops. So I think it is important for young girls who want to live that lifestyle of like you're dating the rapper. I would suggest they read The Coldest Winter Ever and be prepared for what comes with it.
Well, anything else on Black history?
I will say just everybody shop black, read black history, read black history fiction, also support the arts. One of the best shows that we ever went to, what is it called? I can't remember. I hate that I can't remember, but it's a dance
Oh,
company.
Alan Ive
Yeah, the Allen I like,
Allen Iverson.
yeah, I really would love to do more of that. I know that the only way we could get more of that is if we support the arts, support Black people who are performing in the arts. So I wanna
Used
try
to
to
like
get
Universe Soul Circus too.
yeah, that was good too. I
Yeah.
want to see more stuff like that, more Black media, different shows like Forever. Please support that show. Mostly Black cast, a beautiful love story. There's just different things out there in the media that we just need to support so we can get more of. And that's all I can say. So watch Black, eat Black, shop Black, support Black.
Before we move to listening to, I do wanna say, for those of you who catch a clip or 2 and you do not celebrate Black History Month, don't come in our comments on YouTube talking about how we 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 are going against everybody else because we are not. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, a lot of times if you watch our other shows with listening to, I'm always watching something that is not necessarily an African American cast. Now I watch a
I'm
variety
the
of shows and we listen to a variety of music and read a variety of books. There's some podcasts I even talked about that were older white gentlemen that I enjoy listening to because they dropping gems. If I can get gems from anybody, I'm gonna take them. But, so don't come in our comments, don't come for us talking about we're going against anybody, and please don't talk about what President Trump gonna do to us for for talking about Black History Month.
I would say for me, I'm the one that mostly always watches shows with only Black people and reading books with only Black people. And it's not, like I said, I don't have nothing against other people, but I just believe in supporting my people to the fullest. And
But I like The Gilded Age, I'm not gonna shy
yeah,
away
I do
from it.
too.
I
But
like,
so the
Reacher. I mean, I like those shows, and
yeah,
I'm gonna support both. And that's why I say 2 things can be true at once, like So us celebrating Black history does not mean that we won't celebrate Hispanic heritage or Cinco de Mayo or Asian heritage, or that we don't read the history books and talk about the everyday ordinary contributions of all Americans. So just remember, be more open in your thinking and flexible in your thoughts, and the water can run downhill and flow across at the same time. Two things can absolutely be true at one time.
Yeah.
Don't get
We
so one
appreciate
dimensional in your thinking that you can't celebrate or talk about or enjoy multiple things. So,
we appreciate different cultures. We appreciate people learning different language. Habla español un poco, like all of it. We're not against other races and we're not against other cultures, but we are Black. And we're gonna say it loud. We're Black and we're proud. I know y'all know that on the last one, but I just need people to understand that as well. Like this
and
is,
shout out to Coco Jones with Lift Every Voice and Sing
yeah,
for
she
the
did
Super Bowl.
amazing.
I did not watch the Super Bowl, but I did watch the clips of Coco Jones singing the Black Negro National Anthem, and go girl. And the Whitney Houston, um, outfit, yes, ma'am. So shout out to Coco Jones. I am really excited about her singing
Yeah.
the Black National Anthem.
Y'all listen to her album. I told y'all months ago. She the truth. She got some really good songs. Even her old stuff is amazing too. I still listen to that as well. But yeah.
All right. Well, listening to, what are you listening to, Brandy?
Right now. So remember last week you asked me about the movie Relationship Goals, and I told you I was gonna watch it. So for my my guy and I, we did watch it, and I liked it. I can't see the Christianity propaganda that people are talking about, but I am a Christian, so I don't mind it. But I thought it was a cute little love story. The acting was a little interesting, but they were cute together. And I think it's a feel good movie if you believe in the Lord and have Jesus as your savior. You will like it. But if you don't like watching like things about Christianity, then I would say not to watch it. But I liked it. I will say I did like it. I can say that.
Okay. I still need to watch it. I do plan to. I just hadn't had a chance yet. I think I told y'all last time the Lincoln Lawyer came back on
Yeah.
as we talk about Black history. That is not Black. But anyway, the Lincoln Lawyer came on and we binge watched that. I said we were going to take our time and watch a couple episodes at a time, but you know, Netflix, they kind of drop it all. So when they drop it all, we watch it all. So over the weekend, we watched that and finished it. It was a very good season. Um, I won't give the plot away, but this season was a very good season. This time he was fighting for his own life, and it was very good to watch. We started watching Alex Cross. It is on now, its second season. Really good show. So if you hadn't been watching Alex Cross, I suggest you, get on to that. And then music wise, listening to I really hadn't been listening to anything. Last week I was all T.I. Let them know, bumping it. This week I've been listening to that Pocket FM on YouTube, those stories. Like the one I'm listening to now is called A Betrayed Queen or A Queen Betrayed. Those things are pretty good. So, Brandy, if you considering breaking into writing like that, I don't know how you get on Pocket FM or any of those types of apps that have those stories, but now some of those stories are pretty good. So I've been kind of enjoying The Betrayed Queen. I'm on like episode 170. I really need to be watching a podcast about money, or leadership or something like that. But I didn't kind of got onto fiction and things like that. So
Yeah. Well, the song I've been listening to is Fly Like a Bird by Mariah Carey. It's a really good song to me. It's like a gospel song in my opinion, and her vocals are amazing. I do like Mariah Carey a lot, so that's the song I've been listening to lately. Okay.
well, Judge, this week, I got one that I want to save because I need to reflect. I have a question, but I want to save it until our next show so I can reflect on my answer. I just got it and I really hadn't had time to really answer the question completely for the person who asked. So I do want to reflect on my answer and talk with them and kind of answer them in full before I put it out on the show. And of course, I would never say a name or the nature of the conversation other than what the question was and how I answered it. I'll spend more time on my answer, of course, than who asked it or whatever.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything for judging you.
Okay. Well, we are so happy that you joined. If you tuning in, we're so happy that you joined us for our conversation on Black History Month. Um, we hope that if you do celebrate, you think of the good stories, not just the trauma of what has been contributed to Black Americans in the United States, the contributions that we've had, the celebrations that we've had. There are some traumatic stories, but if you can find the good and exciting things too, the exciting contributions to reflect on, especially with younger people who may not know. I think that's always a good thing.
Yes. And if you have any Black History Month facts you want to share, reach out and send it to us. We like to learn new things as well. Maybe something you know that we don't, and people that we should be celebrating and looking more into. But we appreciate you for tuning in. And remember this Black History Month, let's shop Black owned, let's eat Black owned, and let's listen and support the arts of Black artists, musicians, writers, poets, etc.
See you next time on We Listen and We Judge.